But I want to make this video to give the edge of optimism and to show you guys and to convince you guys why we can still be optimistic. We have to go out and vote. We have to make it happen. But this is why you can still be optimistic that Kamala Harris can, in fact, still win this election. We're going to start with a video here from the debate between John Fetterman and Mehmet Oz. This is in 2022. Bear with me. I have a point here. I will get to it, but let's go ahead and watch this, and then we will continue.
Was on his show and he hugged him and he said, "I love this guy. You know what? Why don't you pretend that you live in Vermont instead of Pennsylvania and run against Bernie Sanders?"
Pennsylvania only trails Texas in terms of natural gas production.
I strongly support fracking, drilling, the piping of that natural gas.
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking. I'm the only person on this stage right now that is successful about pushing back against gun violence and being the community more safe. You know, all he's done is just put a plan up on his website in the last 24 hours. My campaign is all about fighting for anyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to get back up again. You know, I'm also fighting for any forgotten community all across Pennsylvania.
Ask yourself this and other.
Okay, so that's enough. That debate, famously, John Fetterman was recovering from a stroke he just recently had. So I want to be very, very clear. I mean, that it was a tough debate to watch. If I'm being honest. So that was a tough debate. I mean, there was a lot of moments there where you can tell John Fetterman was really struggling, and it was looking bad, right? So this was sort of at a moment where it was before the 2022 midterm. There was all this talk of red wave. There were Senate seats that were up in the balance, and the Republicans looking to take over the House and the Senate. And it was looking bleak. There was a lot of negativity on the left. And this performance had a lot of people thinking, wow, John Fetterman's done. His brain is cooked. He had a stroke. He can't perform anymore. And obviously, Pennsylvanians are not going to elect him, right? That was the narrative. And as Sagar pointed out this morning, this is what sort of reminded me of this idea. Sagar and Jetty from Breaking Points tweeted, "One way I always check my bias around terrible poll performances is the fact that Fetterman was more cooked than a vegetable in his debate with Oz, and he still won by 5." Now, I wouldn't go and use the term cooked like a vegetable. It's a little bit insensitive. I mean, the man was recovering from a stroke, for God's sakes, and he still went up on stage and performed. That's not to say anything about the politics of John Fetterman. That's a different story. But again, just for the purpose of polling and perception and optimism and pessimism for this debate or for this conversation, and that's absolutely true. So, oopsies, not this poll. When you look at Pennsylvania in the 2022 Senate election, Oz was polling much better. Not much, by 0.4 on the average, but in the days leading up, +3, +2, +2, there was a stream of polls that showed Fetterman catching up. People thought the stroke was what did him in. People lost confidence in Fetterman, and that the seat was up for grabs and that Oz was there to take it. Well, that ended up being not even close to the reality on election day. Fetterman won comfortably. He won by 5 percentage points. It was never even a question. The race was over on election night, right? So when you go and you look at the performance from Kamala Harris the other night, to give you a few examples.
Ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes because...
Let me go to the beginning here because this is quite the clip.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess. So I mean... All
right, Kamala, really good. Not having specific answers, not what we need at this point in the campaign, but okay.
Political life or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, you know, if you've ever parented a child, you know you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
Is there
Okay, so a non-answer there. I mean, guys, this is like I train English as a second language students to answer interview questions, and this is a basic interview question. Everybody who's been in an interview ever, do a little bit of self-reflection for me. What's an area where you can improve? Where's some area you made a mistake where you should have done something differently? And she has no answer. She has no answer for a question that everybody, speaking of McDonald's, maybe they even ask you that question when you're interviewing for McDonald's. She's running for president of the United States. You have to have an answer for that question. A little bit of self-reflection, please. Everything doesn't have to be super political and perfect, and I have to angle this the right way. Just answer the question, right? So most people who watched, I mean, there are some people who got some positives out of that performance, but a lot of people were left, wanting more. And let me just say, this is not me making a comparison saying that Kamala's performance on CNN or any other performance is as if she had a stroke. And I'm not making light of that situation either. Like I said, it's impressive that Fetterman was able to survive and then perform and then get elected, right? And I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is having mental issues of that sort. I'm just saying, in terms of bumbling and stumbling and having a not so good performance that leaves people disheartened, that's the sort of angle that I'm looking at here. So the bottom line is, guys, um, John Fetterman had a performance like that, struggling, painful to watch debate performance, down in the polls over and over and over again before election day, on average down, and he still won the election comfortably. Pennsylvania, right now, series of polls heading into election day. +3, +3, +3, +1, +1, Trump up by a similar margin. Again, 0.4 for Oz. Trump is up 0.6 on average in Pennsylvania. And John Fetterman was able to come back and win that election. Is Kamala Harris poised to do the exact same thing? A lot of noise, a lot of nervousness, a lot of pessimism from the left, and a lot of, optimism, perhaps misplaced optimism, and rash optimism from the right. We could be looking at a similar situation. So that is the optimistic angle to look at this. It's absolutely not over. We would like for those, I would love for Kamala to be winning by 50 points in every single one of these polls. That's the way it should be. Unfortunately, we live in a very divided country, and whoever wins, half of the country is going to be absolutely apoplectic and pissed and think that the world is going to end. And if the other side wins, it's going to be the exact same thing for the other side. We just don't understand each other on that. I try to come to this place in the middle and become a connecting point to make sense of things, but you can't win them all. So let me know what you guys think. That's my assessment coming forward. Stay optimistic, go and vote, and that'll just do it for that. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one.